Hello and welcome back to Alicia Towns Yoga. For today's practice, it is all about supporting the low back. And so for this practice today, if you do have a couple of blocks, I'd recommend grabbing a couple of blocks. And I am sitting on the edge of a folded up blanket here. If you don't have a blanket that you can use for your practice, no worries, you can use maybe a couple of bath towels. But really, these props today are optional, just recommended. So let's go ahead and get started in a seated position. And I like to sit on the edge of that blanket or your rolled up towel just to have the hips a little bit more elevated, the pelvis a little bit more supported there. And then I'm just coming to an easy seat, so more like a Sukhasana seat with the right shin in front of the left shin. But if it's more comfortable for you sitting cross-legged, feel free to do that. Maybe sit back on your heels. So any seat will work. Start to maybe just wiggle down into the hips. Just get a feel for how your low back is feeling today. Maybe even how your hips are feeling. Take a moment just to start to tune into your breath, drawing your attention inwards. Maybe taking a deep breath in through the nose and an open mouth exhale. And just start to arrive on your mat. Take this moment to reconnect to your mat. Reconnect to your breath, to your practice. So take a few more extra moments here to start to settle in. And then whenever you're ready, we're going to go ahead and seal the lips. So we're going to take a nice inhale through the nose and an exhale through the nose. And feel free to close down your eyes while you do this. And we're just going to start to slow down the breath a little bit more. Take a few more deep breaths just like that. Maybe focusing on lengthening out your exhales a little bit longer. And then whenever you're ready, feel free to float your eyelids back open. And then we're going to start to tap into an acupressure point called Heart 7. So to find Heart 7, it's very easy. Just find the outer edge of your wrist crease. And that's going to be on the pinky side. So right on the outer edge of your wrist crease here on the pinky side. And then we're just going to tap into that point, but using both of our wrists here. So I'm just tapping into that point. Again, pinky side on the outer edge of that wrist crease. And it doesn't have to be too specific there, but we would just want to tap right into that acupressure point. Heart 7. This is such a great one to help calm the mind and just to help relieve any of the low back spasms that you might be having. And with this tapping, you can tap as soft or hard as you would like. I just kind of have a little bit of a soft tapping. You might have this intuition or pull to maybe tap more, maybe a little bit faster taps. Maybe you switch sides. And then if this just doesn't feel good at all in your body, if it's just not vibing for you, feel free just to come back to a seat and bring your attention to that area. So any version there will do. And just starting to maybe close your eyes down a little bit longer and see if you can really smooth out the breath some more. Back to your breath. Nice deep breath in through the nose. Take a long, slow exhale through the nose. And start to just let the external world fade away. And think about clearing the mind as much as you can. And more or less just having awareness of the thoughts that might be creeping up into the mind. And if there are any thoughts that are not serving to you right now, Just gently push those thoughts aside, come back to your breath, come back to your practice. And we'll keep tapping a few more times there. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and just release from that tapping. Let your arms come down by your side or resting on your lap. And then just noticing. And then whenever you're ready, let's make our way to our next shape. So we're going to start to come to a butterfly position with the soles of the feet together and the knees draped open to the side. So I am still sitting on the edge of my blanket there. So have that little bit of support underneath the pelvis. And then feel free to maybe use your blocks if you have them. So it's maybe a block underneath each knee or thigh. That can be an option too, so you can really lengthen up through the spine. If you have some wall space, you can even have your back up against the wall. So let's just make our way to that butterfly position here without folding over first. So you might even just wrap your hands around your shins there and really lengthen through the spine. So we don't want to arch the back. We want to just really find that length through the spine from tailbone to crown of the head, reaching up towards the sky. And then from here, we're going to tap into 2 more acupressure points. So first, go ahead and find your inner ankle bone. And then just fall right off of your inner ankle bone, right into this hollow point, this little depression here between the Achilles tendon and your ankle bone. So right there, and then the mirror opposite, the mirror image of that is going to be another acupressure point. So what I like to do is use my index finger and thumb and make like a little pinching, a little claw. And you can tap into both these points on both feet, or both ankles, I should say. So again, find your inner ankle bone just on the inside. So we don't want to be on the bone. We want to find that little bit of a hollow point there. And then again, the exact mirror image of that. And just making a little pinching, kind of like a little claw there. And feel free to make little circles as well. So you can make circles, you can palpate that area. And we're looking for a little bit of tenderness. So nothing painful, but a little tenderness perhaps. So on that inner ankle bone is kidney 3, and on that mirror opposite, or the mirror image on that other side, is bladder 60. So really supportive for the low back, especially for the bladder 60 point. If you have more of that chronic low back pain, this can be such a good one to come to. So whenever you arrive in your position, feel free to maybe even just fold over a little bit while holding on to those points. You might fold over a little or a lot. And if you're not using the blocks for underneath your knees or thighs, you can also maybe just stack the blocks on top of each other and then just letting your forehead rest right on those blocks. So that's an option too. I actually think I am going to stick with this option. And we'll be here for a couple of minutes, so feel free to use whatever props that you may need. So if you need to pause the video, maybe grab another blanket or 2, anything that can be more supportive and helpful for your practice. And so we're still applying pressure to those acupressure points, but coming back to your breath. So seeing if you can use your exhales to soften a little bit, maybe through that lower back area. And just having the hips reach back. And as you take that deep inhale, depending on what version you're taking here, you might feel that breath expanding on the back part of your ribs on an inhale. And then an exhale, letting you soften. And we're just going to take a few more deep breaths here. And then go ahead and release from your acupressure point, but still staying in your butterfly position. Maybe your arms come out in front of you and just letting your arms be heavy. You might even remove one of the blocks if your forehead was rested on the blocks, folding over maybe a little bit more, but only if the body is inviting you to go a little bit deeper. So I always say, listen to your body. Let your body invite you to open up and go deeper. So no need to go to your full range of motion, maybe about 60 to 70%. And if your forehead is rested on the block, you might be tapping into that acupressure point that's right between the eyebrows, the yin tong acupressure point, that third eye. And on your next inhale, go ahead and start to come back up to an upright position, nice and slow. Maybe walk your hands towards your body to just allow you to go nice and slow, coming back to an upright position. Moving your blocks out of the way if you had them in front of you. Let's go ahead and place our hands behind us, step the feet out wide. We're just going to windshield wiper the knees side to side. Nothing fancy. You don't have to coordinate this with your breath. Just whatever feels good in your body here. But just having the knees come to one side at the same time, rotating to the opposite side. Just kind of think about giving the hips a little bit of a rinse there. And it might feel good for your lower back as well. Few more times side to side. Good, and then let's find some stillness here. And then just coming back to an easy seat position. Go ahead and bring your arms down by your side. Take an inhale, reach the arms out to a T. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up, let the sides of the waist get nice and long. And exhale, release the hands all the way down. Inhale, reach the arms out to a T. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up towards the sky. And exhale, release your arms down by your side. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, reach the arms out to a T. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up towards the sky. And exhale, release the arms down by your side. Beautiful. Let's make our way to a tabletop position. So if you do have that blanket or a towel and you like to pad your knees, we will be on our knees for a little bit. So feel free to use any padding there. And then if you know you like to practice with blocks in a low lunge, go ahead and set your blocks towards the top of your mat on the highest setting. Making your way to a tabletop position, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And then just sway a little bit side to side into the hips. Just getting familiar with being on hands and knees. And then maybe you even just start to circle the pelvis here. Maybe adding on a little bit of cat and cow motion. Maybe you look over one shoulder and then looking over the other shoulder. So it's really just feeling into your body. Just taking inventory and turning your attention back inwards. Maybe make a couple more hip circles there. Making sure you're rotating in both ways. And then let's find some stillness here in our tabletop. We're going to step the right foot forward in between the hands and then just coming up onto our blocks here. Now this right knee can come past that right ankle. We want to lengthen out that left leg. So I am up on the highest setting of my blocks just to help guide me a little bit deeper into my low lunge. So again, not going to your full range of motion. We want to have the body invite us to go a little bit deeper. So really think about sinking those hips down, letting gravity do its job. Take in a few deep breaths there. And then using your exhales to just continue to soften a little bit around the hips. And whenever you're ready, we're going to tuck that back toe under, lift the back knee, step forward to find an easy forward fold at the top of your mat. So feel free to bring those blocks with you. And I like just helping facilitate this in a forward fold. So bending the knees, nice easy forward fold here. Your hands can just dangle down by the sides or up onto the blocks, but just listen to your body, especially if the hamstrings are pretty tight. Let's take an inhale, halfway lift, and an exhale to forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, extended mountain, and exhale, soften your knees and forward folds. Plant your hands, step back to a plank position. Go ahead and lower your knees. Take an exhale to lower all the way down, and inhale to curl up into a cobra. And keeping this maybe a little bit of a baby cobra here rather than going to a full cobra. So maybe a little baby cobra, just lifting the head and the chest. And then an exhale to release all the way down. Inhale, pushing up into the hands, tabletop. Tuck the toes. Take an exhale for a downward facing dog. No rush. Nice downward dog here. Feel free to pedal out the feet. And we're going to take an inhale, rise up on the toes. Exhale, bend the knees. Look forward, and we're going to step forward to an easy forward fold here. And we're just moving nice and slow, just feeling into this movement. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. We're going to plant those hands, step just the right foot back. Lower that right knee, come right up onto your blocks here. And then just find your low lunge. So really lengthen out that right leg. Left knee can come past that left ankle. And just starting to sink those hips down. Now feel free to also play with the block height. So maybe on this side, you can go down to a medium setting, but really think about lengthening the spine still and keeping the chest forward. Back to your breath, nice, slow, steady breath. Continue using your exhales to soften around the hips. And take a few more deep breaths here. And if you notice that maybe you do go a little bit deeper into your low lunge and it just doesn't feel good, you might have some sharp or shooting pain, maybe in the back or down the legs, feel free to come out of the lunge a little bit. So just listen to your body. And then we're going to tuck that back toe under, lift that back knee, step forward to a nice easy forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, extend a mountain. And exhale, soften the knees, forward fold. Now from here, we're going to plant our hands on the blocks, step our feet up pretty wide, heels in, toes pointed out. We're going to start to take an exhale to lower all the way down to a squat. So really sinking those hips down here. Now if you have the blocks, you might want to set one of your blocks underneath your sit bones and take a seat right on your block there. Maybe today in your squat, you're a little bit more in a crouched position like this, hand or palms together, but just having a little bit more height here. So you're not all the way down, especially if the knees are a little bit sensitive and tender. So find a squat position that you can stay in for several breaths here. Take a deep breath in and really feel how the belly expands. Take an exhale to soften. Just finding a natural rhythm for your breath here. Maybe noticing any sensations along the inside of the thighs, through the hips. Notice what thoughts may be swirling around in the mind, and any unserving thoughts, just gently push those to the side. On your next exhale, go ahead and plant your hands, start to straighten your legs, and then we're going to come to a dangling position here. So still having this feet stepped pretty wide, wider than your hips distance apart, letting the upper body just dangle over and become heavy. Maybe you reach for opposite elbows. I'm finding more of a ragdoll position here. Let your head drop and be heavy. Take a few deep breaths here. And think about just releasing any extra stagnant energy. And then if you're reaching for opposite elbows, go ahead and release your arms. Let your hands come back down to the mat, maybe up on the fingertips or up on the blocks. We're going to heel toe the feet in a little bit closer together here. We're going to just step back to a tabletop position. Nice and easy. So nice tabletop position. Again, just coming to wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's take a few cat and cows here. Inhale, lower the belly. We're going to lift the chin in a gaze. And then exhale to push into the palms, round the spine, chin to chest. Inhale, lower the belly, find your cow pose. And then exhale, round your spine, find your cat pose. And inhale, just coming back to neutral. We're going to make our way onto our back. So if you have those blocks, you can go ahead and move them off to the side. And then we're just going to make our way onto our back here. Go ahead and keep your knees bent and your feet planted, please. And then we're going to hug the right knee in towards the chest. And then from here, we're going to just extend that right leg towards the sky. We're going to interlace the fingers behind our right knee. Now, there's an acupressure point on the center point behind the knee crease, and that's called bladder 40. So you can tap into that point by using one or two fingers, and it's just that center point behind the knee crease. I like to even bend my knee here with my fingers behind that point and having a little bit of compression there to tap in there. Now the left leg can stay bent, or if you would like to straighten out that left leg, maybe that'll create a little bit more sensation through that left hip flexor. But give it a try, see if that feels helpful for you. And then just taking a few deep breaths here. This bladder 40 point is a great nourishing point for that low back pain. And you might not find a tender spot per se, but maybe just looking for a little bit sensation perhaps. And if you find that one point, or one leg I should say, has more sensation than the other, that's totally normal. So maybe this right one, you might not feel much, there might not be much tenderness, but that's okay. Just keep with it. And if it just doesn't feel good in your body, no worries. Just maybe bringing awareness. So you can always just hug in that right knee and bring awareness to that point. If having that little bit of compression with that right knee bent is too much, you can even think about extending that right leg towards the sky and still tapping into that point behind the knee crease. Relax your shoulder blades back. Maybe even closing the eyes here. And really think about just letting the entire back of the body release into your mat. And then we're going to start to drape this left hand over that right knee and just pull that right knee across that left leg, coming to a twist here. So that right arm can extend out to a T if that's comfortable, or maybe just up overhead somewhere. But feel free just to enjoy this twist in any variation that you would like. So maybe that left knee is a little bit bent, keeping that left leg straight. You can even straighten out this right leg if you would like, or keeping that right knee bent. Right hand, again, can just be out to a T, or maybe you have that right hand on your belly and just focusing on using your hands as an anchor on your belly. Sometimes that can be helpful if the mind is just kind of going about and it's hard to stay in your practice. Having that little bit of weight on the abdomen can feel like that nice anchor that you might need. Let's stay here for a few more breaths. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and roll onto your back. Let's have both knees in towards the chest. Let's invite in a little bit of a spinal massage by rocking side to side. Try that out, see if that feels helpful for you in your practice. And sometimes it might even feel helpful to wrap the hands around the knees and circle the knees. And that can bring in some additional sensation through the sacrum area, maybe down into the glutes. Just think about nice and slow movement here though. So even if you're just swaying side to side or circling the knees, think about keeping it nice and slow. Not going so rigid though, but just finding that little bit of mobility. And then whenever you're ready, let's go ahead and find some stillness here in the center. Plant that right foot to the mat, extend the left leg towards the sky, and then interlace the fingers. We're going to find that center point behind the left knee crease. I'm going to go ahead and bend that left knee to add a little bit more compression there. And then I do like straightening out my right leg to get a little bit more sensation in that right hip flexor. And so on this side, just noticing right away the differences. But without judgment, just keeping this inventory and just drawing your attention back inwards each and every time that we move to the opposite side or a different shape. Just allowing yourself to come right back to your practice. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And then as you exhale, see if you can let the shoulder blades rest against the mat. Releasing any extra tension or gripping through the chest. And just keeping the breath, a nice steady cadence that works best in your body right here, right now. And then whenever you're ready, we're going to wrap our right hand around that left knee, drape that left knee across the right leg, find your twist. So any arm variation, maybe that left arm out to a T. Maybe that left arm is more comfortable up overhead resting. Maybe you'd like to use your left hand as an anchor again, placing it on the belly. But just start to notice that little bit of stretch along the outside of that left hip. Notice how your low back is feeling in this twist on this side. Maybe you make little micro adjustments too. So maybe it's straightening out that left leg a little bit more. Maybe perhaps bending that right knee. But we want to find something that we can soften into, finding a twist that we can allow ourselves just to soften and release. And as we're taking these conscious breaths here, taking a nice deep inhale and a nice long slow exhale, as you continue doing that, just knowing that we're giving our internal organs a nice massage there. So you can kind of think of that nice pumping in this spinal rotation and just feeling the breath really moving and massaging the internal organs in such a nice, healthy way, too. Using the diaphragm to massage, using the diaphragm to really just slow down the breath. And then on your next exhale, we're going to go ahead and roll back onto our back here. Hug both knees in towards the chest. Again, maybe a little sway side to side. Nothing big. And then one more shape that we're going to settle into here is we're going to extend both legs towards the sky. And then bend the knees, reaching for your big toes or your ankles or your shins, maybe even behind the knees again. But we're going to find a happy baby here. So maybe picking up the head and finding what's available to reach. Settling the shoulder blades back down against your mat there. Maybe even a little sway into the hips. So if there's any sticky bits through the hips, just feel free to work through those before finding some stillness. Maybe noticing anything going on texturally. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Come back to your breath using those exhales to soften. And so if you notice that your low back wants to peel up off the mat, totally fine. We want to keep it more of this yin quality of more passive stretch. And we'll be here just for a few more breaths. And so on your next exhale, go ahead and slowly bring those knees together. Use your hands to help support that. Hugging the knees into the chest. Maybe even pick up the head and have yourself into a little ball there. And then bringing the head back down. Let your feet come down towards the mat, but stepping the feet out pretty wide. So here we're going to just windshield wiper the knees side to side while lying on our back. And just again, notice how that feels. Maybe having the arms out to a T. And really just feeling this movement. A little bit of kind of rinse for the hips again. Nice support for the low back. Maybe you start to take your arms a little more up overhead. Feel the waist lengthen. And if you drop your knees to one side and it feels good to stay there in stillness for a little bit, feel free to do that. So you don't necessarily have to keep windshield wipering the knees side to side. If one side feels like you need to stay for a few more extra breaths, listen to your body and do that. Keeping this really slow and almost meditative-like. And then the next time your knees come back up to center, take a moment to pause there. And then we're going to straighten out our legs and start to settle into a Shavasana. So if you do like to practice with a blanket in your Shavasana, one of my favorites is rolling up a blanket and having it right underneath the knees to support the knees that way. Just have a little bit of elevation. Sometimes maybe even just having maybe a smaller roll and placing it right underneath of the sit bones. So you can kind of think maybe of a little bit of a supported bridge. and having the legs extended out long that way. It's another good option. So find a position here that you can start to settle into your Shavasana. And just start to allow your body to be completely heavy against your mat. Resting your shoulder blades back. Let your head drop back and just rest into the mat there. Arms can come out by your side, maybe widening your legs, and really think about taking up space here. And that can allow you to really relax your shoulder blades down. And so sometimes we tend to hold on to tension in certain areas that we might not even be noticing. So think about scanning the body from the crown of the head all the way to the toes. And take this moment to really think about releasing tension through each little body part. So maybe even starting from the crown of the head, just noticing any sensation there. And then moving your attention down towards the face and the muscles behind the eyes. Maybe just relax all of the facial muscles. Maybe part your teeth and just place the entire tongue on the roof of the mouth. Closing the mouth. And see if you can breathe in that sort of way. And that helps just slow down the breath a little bit more. And keep your jaw and sides of your neck soft. Moving down to the chest, just feel that openness through the chest perhaps. Softness through the belly. See if you might be holding on to tension through the glutes. Maybe any gripping through the top of the thighs or the knees. Relaxing the legs, the ankles, again, all the way down to the toes. So maybe even just let your feet point out towards the sides. No need to hold on to any tension there. And just relaxing as much as you can. You deserve this. Let your low back release into your mat. And sometimes, if this just doesn't feel good, lying completely flat on your back, you can come to a more constructive rest position with the feet planted wide, the knees can come together. But if you can, see if you can allow yourself to come to this corpse pose where you can really just allow yourself to be completely heavy against your mat. No need to hold yourself up. And just taking this time to focus on you, your practice, and your breath. Noticing the effects of the practice. Quality of your breath, state of the mind. And I invite you to stay here in your Shavasana for as long as you would like. Keep coming back to scanning your body. Keep coming back to your breath. Stay here for as long as you would like and really just savor this moment, nourish your body and soul. And so until next time, namaste.